Unusual Prehistory is a mod that allows players to revive a wide array of prehistoric creatures and plants. By extracting DNA from fossils and using advanced cloning technology, players can bring back dinosaurs, prehistoric mammals, and ancient flora, each with unique behaviors and characteristics. So, let's begin. Revival of ancient beasts is a fairly straightforward process. The first step in this process is finding fossils. Fossils can be found in all layers of the world, however depth affects the age of them. There are 7 types of fossils: Paleozoic fossils, Mesozoic fossils, plant fossils, amber fossils, petrified wood, tar fossils, and opal fossils. To actually extract DNA, one must craft an analyzer. Analyzers are a contraption that allows for the extraction of DNA from fossils. To use this machine, you have to use flasks to hold the DNA in a stable place. This machine will then search for any traces of DNA in the fossil. Any DNA found will then have to be placed into a cultivator. Cultivators are a machine that turns DNA into actual creatures or plants. All one needs is DNA and some organic ooze, which is a slush of organic materials that allows for the revival process. The process for reviving Cenozoic and live birth creatures differs slightly, as after the cultivation process an embryo is obtained. If a modern relative is available, then this can be used as a surrogate mother. However, as of now, there is only one known live birth relative that still exists today for one animal. To get around this, one must construct a birthing pod, which allows for one live birth to happen before breaking. Now we'll take a look at some of the plants of the mod, and I'll give a bit of history about each one as provided by the mod. If you don't want to listen to this, feel free to skip straight to the mobs. I'll be doing my best to pronounce these, but they have some crazy names, so just don't expect me to get them all perfect or anything. The Archaeofructus. This plant is part of an extinct group of aquatic seed plants that lived during the early Cretaceous. This plant is hypothesized to be one of the earliest flowering plants. These plants can only be planted underwater and can be converted into yellow dye. Archaeosigillaria is part of the genus of Sigillaria, a group of spore-bearing plants from the Carboniferous and Permian periods. These plants are planted on land and can be turned into green dye. Benetitalis is a part of a rather vast group of seed plants that appeared during the Permian before becoming extinct towards the end of the Cretaceous. These plants can be planted on land and can be crafted into brown dye. Clathrodiction were a part of the vast reef builder sponges that ruled the Paleozoic. Clathrodiction in particular is from the Silurian period. Dryophyllum is a small tree from the late Cretaceous. Their wood is pink and can be crafted into a wide wood set that shares this pink wood. Foxi is an extinct redwood tree known solely from the Paleocene. These massive trees tower above their spruce relatives, almost doubling the height of the tallest spruce trees. To actually grow these trees, they need to be placed in a 2x2 area with lots of space. Be very wary when growing these, as their stumps can easily reach 9 blocks thick and their leaves larger. Their wood is a dark red color and can be crafted into a variety of products. The prehistoric ginkgo is a common tree that has been around since the Triassic and has been flourishing since then. These trees rarely drop their nuts when chopped, which can be cooked or fed to various prehistoric animals. Ginkgo wood is yellow in color and can be crafted into a wide variety of wood products. The horsetail is among one of the most common plants of prehistoric. The humble horsetail has lasted a millennia, first appearing in the Pennsylvanian and Permian periods. These plants are a very common find from plant fossils and can be turned into a tall version via bone meal. Leaf fructus is a part of an extinct genus of flowering plant from the early Cretaceous. These plants can be placed on land and can be crafted into yellow dye. Nelumbites is an extinct species of water plant that resembles a lily pad. These plants can be placed on the surface of water. Coruxia is an aquatic plant that lived during the Upper Cretaceous. These plants have a unique growth cycle, growing up from the bottom of a water source into a cluster of small aquatic clovers. Their stems can be used as fuel, however they burn for an abysmal amount of time. Rhygwenrhaeon is a tall species of dandelion that grew during the Eocene period. These plants are 2 blocks tall and can be crafted into yellow dye. Sarracenia is a part of the group that makes up pitcher plants, with their earliest relatives dating back to the early Cretaceous. These plants are a very common find from plant fossils and can be turned into a tall version via bone meal. They can also be crafted into red dye. We'll take a look at the mobs now. They'll be done in alphabetical order, and once again, please don't expect me to pronounce everything perfectly. If you want to revive a specific mob, I would recommend just collecting the fossil of the period it's from and hoping that you get that particular creature from it. Unfortunately, the analyzer will give random DNA, but you can keep trying and eventually you should get your creature. The ammonite is a rather broad group of cephalopods that lived all throughout time, only going extinct during the end of the Cretaceous period. Like many smaller aquatic animals, they can be bucketed. On death, these animals drop shell shards which can be used to recreate ammonite shell, or they can be made into a war pick. War picks act as both a way to mine and engage in combat. And Arctopella are a medium-sized ankylosaur that lived during the late Cretaceous. These hardy herbivores are one of the toughest dinosaurs. Their hard scutes and sheer weight prevent them from being easily moved, not to mention their almost axe-like tails that can slice most threats in half. These dinosaurs are rather defensive when it comes to hostile threats, as they will go after just about any hostile monster with horrific results for the victim. Sometimes during their slicing fests, they will lose a few of their tail scutes, which can be used to fashion into a rather crude but effective heavy weapon. This weapon is said to be able to behead a ravager in one fell swoop. Anurognathus are oddities in the pterosaur families for their flat faces and forward-facing eyes. Anurognathus look more akin to a frog owl than any particular pterosaur. These pterosaurs are primarily insectivores, consuming arthropods quite voraciously. A curious behavior cited in these animals is pollination similar to that of bees, which allows crops to grow much faster. The Ostroraptor is a relatively large dromaeosaur from the late Cretaceous. These graceful creatures are docile unless provoked. They spend most of their days hunting for fish and other small prey. These creatures have rather graceful plumage with large prominent red crests adorning the side of their face and the top of their head. Sometimes they will groom themselves, leaving behind a few feathers in the process. These feathers can be used to craft boots that negate fall damage. These dinosaurs also drop meat on their death. While not the best meat on the menu, other dinosaurs such as Ulugbegosaurus enjoy it. Baronosuchus is a large crocodilian from the Middle Eocene to the Middle Miocene. These brutish reptiles are extremely hostile. Their large size, fast running speed, combined with a powerful bite, makes them a force to be reckoned with. While taming through conventional means proved to be futile, these animals do enjoy the sound of a fabled Crocorrhina, an item that can only be obtained by bartering with a Gigantopithecus. Hearing the tunes from this instrument seemingly forms a bond with the musician, being loyal until the end. While saddling has proven futile, these beasts can be used as a powerful tool in combat, especially in numbers. The Beelzebuffo is a Cretaceous frog of immense proportions. Beelzebuffo is considered to be an extinct relative of the Ceratophoriidae, which is a part of the frog group that diverged from primitive amphibians during the late Cretaceous and contains in modern day horned frogs. Much like their modern relatives, these massive frogs have a very voracious appetite, consuming most small animals in their path. Due to their large size, these animals can be saddled and ridden. However, they can only be controlled using meat on a stick. These frogs can be controlled to hop very high, though some individual frogs jump much higher than others. Brachiosaurus are massive Jurassic sauropods and are quite the sight to behold, standing over 13 blocks tall. These gargantuan animals spend most of their time grazing on tall trees, paying little attention to the world around them. With such a large size, many have attempted to saddle these beasts for warfare. However, these attempts mostly fail, as these large dinosaurs dislike being ridden, throwing their rider away to extreme heights. These beasts cannot be ridden as teens as they are too rambunctious, though they mean no ill will, as they bless their would-be riders with divine protection, protecting them from fall damage. Cotylourhinchus is a massive browser of immense width who feeds upon bushes of fern and horsetails with their abysmally small heads. These cow-like herbivores are closer to mammalian ancestors than any archosaurs, despite their resemblance to some sauropods, and they behave the part with their massive stomachs that digest fibrous plant matter easily. Their meat is quite nutritious. Another use for these large beasts is the production of a liquid called grog, a rather powerful drink that can induce a wide variety of effects. The Dunkleosteis is an apex predator of the late Devonian period. The only creature that threatened a Dunkleosteis presence is its own kind. Their gaping maws are uniquely adapted with extremely fast-acting muscles that open their jaws in an instant, creating a pressure difference that sucks in their armored prey at range, which they ambush in dark waters akin to a catfish of the modern times. Dunkleosteis tolerates no other organisms in its vicinity and attacks anything that approaches near them. They will often attack their handlers, and their constantly sharpened jaw blades part armor with ease. Yet these jaw blades also extract extra nutrients and useful material from their prey. These beasts are quite fond of Scaumanaceae and can even be pacified using gold-encrusted ones, though this pacification causes the fish to no longer attack any animals, taking away from its extracting capability. The encrusted are disgusting abominations from the Mesozoic era. These beasts are coated in a sticky sap-like substance. Unlike most other revived animals, these creatures seem to have been shaped by their preservation, with the sap seemingly changing the genetic makeup. These vile creatures attack through both stabbing with their proboscis and launching a sappy substance at high speeds. Despite their corrupted nature, their abdomen acts as a good way to store blood. This can be refitted and crafted into a DNA fridge, allowing for mass storage of DNA in a compressed container. The Irion was a small crustacean that roamed the Earth during the late Jurassic period. It was found in the Solnofin limestone and inhabited coastal swamps and marshlands. These crustaceans are docile, often feeding off of microscopic organisms, but they also dig for things like food. When digging around, they have a chance of uncovering materials and junk. This includes bones, gold nuggets, iron nuggets, and string. They sometimes uncover preserved fossils when digging, which can be placed around as decoration. Gigantopithecus is a massive orangutan hailing from the early to middle Pleistocene. These docile creatures may be one of the most sophisticated creatures revived yet. Due to not having any living descendants, these creatures must be revived via a birthing pod. They spend most of their days milling about, exploring the world around them. However, when presented with a revived ancient bamboo called Zoologae, they open up, showing a wide array of goods. They offer a wide variety of exotic goods hailing from never-before-seen fruits to seemingly handcrafted weapons. When traded, they'll give the buyer a massive fruit that seemingly has been stuffed to the brim with random goods. Depending on what fruit you trade, better items are obtained. The Hwatch Avinator is one of the most anomalous finds from the rare amber. Classifying this dinosaur is extremely hard due to its rather mythical abilities. A current theory is that the dinosaur is a neotheropod that survived into the late Jurassic era. This medium-sized theropod has a rather deadly hunting tactic. Through a series of complex biological processes, this dinosaur can launch a barrage of sharp spines from its frills, being able to gun down most threats. What's even more shocking and to an extent horrifying is this creature's ability to be tamed by giving it a meaty buffet. When tamed, these dinosaurs can launch their spines in any direction the owner would like. Kentrosaurus is a stegosaurid from the late Jurassic. These small dinosaurs are relatively peaceful creatures. They spend most of their days grazing and moving through thick undergrowth. This calm lifestyle would at first glance make these creatures rather easy prey. However, the massive spikes on their sides and tail prevent this from happening. When fed a horsetail, these dinosaurs will curl up into a defensive stance, preventing them from being moved while also damaging would-be attackers. The Myongosaurus is a strange island-born Abelisaurus of the late Cretaceous period. A Myongosaurus' binocular eyes allow them to track mobile prey with ease, and their powerfully long legs propel them towards their prey with a surprising burst of speed. While aggressive, these creatures are rather clumsy. Unlike their relatives, their charges are fairly inaccurate, though this does not mean their bite is not strong. Do be wary of keeping individuals together, as the species is known for cannibalism. Feeding these animals a chunk of raw meat from another dinosaur pacifies them for a while. Their horn is not tough enough to penetrate a shield. If they ram into a shield, they may get stunned, and scutes on their head may loosen and fall off. These can be collected by the player. These scutes can be made into a helmet that grants strength. The most famous extinct mammal of them all is probably the great woolly mammoth. These large elephants roamed the cold wastelands from the middle Pleistocene to the late Holocene. Their DNA can be obtained regularly through permafrost fossils. However, sometimes larger glacier icebergs will have entirely frozen specimens inside them, bolstering a much higher chance of mammoth DNA. Due to not having any living descendants, these creatures must be revived via a birthing pod. These large animals roam in great herds, being quite defensive of their younger compatriots in the group. They also tend to follow the eldest member of their species, who are usually indicated by their much grayer hair compared to others. One can actually earn the respect of these large beasts by wearing a tyrant's crown. While wearing a tyrant's crown, one can shear out various items that become caught in their fur. These can range from random junk such as string or bones to the occasional brown wool. However, if one doesn't want to become the king of the mammoths, they can be chopped up and compressed into an extremely healthy meatball. Megalania is a large monitor lizard from the Pleistocene. These large lizards are quite territorial. While they will tolerate a person for some time, they'll quickly lose their temper and attack with a wide variety of claw swings, tail swipes, and bites. Their bites inflict a rather dreadful venom that reduces the maximum health. If one is brave enough to let a Megalania lick their weapon, it will temporarily be coated in this venom. A very interesting behavior that these lizards have is their reaction to colder and hotter temperatures. Lizards born in colder environments have different colors than those in hot environments. Though be wary, as Megalania in cold environments tend to sleep, while Megalania in hot environments are much more active and aggressive. Megatherium may not seem it at first glance, but these massive mammals are relatives to the now arboreal sloths. Due to not having any living descendants, these creatures must be revived via a birthing pod. These creatures thrived during the early Pliocene to early Holocene, feeding on now extinct fruits and digging massive dens. While their preferred fruits may be gone, if one were to spend the time and raise a baby sloth using a sack and carrying it around, they may gain the trust of these animals, and when tamed they can be ridden and used as great dirt excavators, digging lots of dirt in very small amounts of time. The Pachycephalosaurus are small dinosaurs from the Cretaceous and have quite the attitude despite their relatively small size. While they will tolerate some nearby people, after some time they will begin to attack. They unleash a flurry of attacks ranging from headbutts, head slams to even kicking. However, if you give a Pachy some raw ginkgo seeds, they will become passive for a much longer time, along with granting you with Pachy's Might. This effect increases attack knockback by a wide margin. The Paleophis is an absolutely massive relative to the soggy elephant trunk snakes. These large creatures prefer to be in rather large aquatic enclosures. These snakes are also entirely aquatic as their muscles cannot hold themselves up outside of water. A rather unique phenomena among this species of snake is that they give live birth. As such, do not have any living descendants. These creatures must be revived via a birthing pod. These animals are temperamental, preferring to be unbothered. Over time, these large snakes will begin to shed, leaving behind trace amounts of skin in the process. If one were to obtain the skin, even in its shed state, it is durable enough to be fashioned into shed-scale armor. When the full set is worn, the wearer becomes extremely fast in water and gains greater dexterity with opal items. The Paraceratherium is the largest land mammal to ever walk this planet. These creatures lived during the Oligocene. Due to not having any living descendants, these creatures must be revived via a birthing pod. Their size is also reflected in their behavior, as for some unknown reason they seem to be extremely aggressive, stomping and slamming anything that comes near them, despite their herbivorous status. Tyrannosaurus rex is the most famous of the dinosaurs. These massive theropods hail from the Cretaceous period. While neutral to people at first, if hit, these creatures become quite ferocious in their rage. The Tyrannosaurus can dish out a variety of attacks, from a weak stomp that causes a small cloud of weakness to a deadly tail whip that launches attackers back. Their most deadly attack, however, is their devastating bite attack. This attack can easily destroy weaker shields and can nearly instantly kill most prey. The best way to deal with this creature in its enraged state is to come prepared with potions, tough armor, and golden apples for resistance and regeneration. When the beast is almost near death, it will fall into its weakened state. During this state, it cannot attack or move. When an adorned staff is used on it in this state, it will heal up and drop some rewards. These rewards consist of scales and teeth. Scales can be used to craft a fine trophy of the beast, while the teeth can be used to craft a Velocishield. Another byproduct of the pacification is that they will become completely pacified, not attacking humans nor animals that hurt it. Scales can also be used for the creation of Rex boomboxes, a block that creates a boom effect around it when activated by redstone. The Scaumanacea is a small lungfish from the Devonian period. These small fish don't offer much outside of meat and decoration. Like many smaller aquatic animals, they can be bucketed. While not very useful, these fish are favored by Dunkleosteus, being able to be used to pacify the monstrous beasts. One must use a golden Scaumanacea to pacify them. Sludge are an amalgamation of tar and natural magic, forming entirely around tar pits. These creatures attack by slapping their targets with wet tar hands, and when killed they dropped some tar fossils which got stuck inside of them. The Smilodon is a large cat, hailing from the early Pleistocene to early Holocene, acting as one of the greatest foils to early humanity for quite some time. These large felines' DNA can be obtained regularly through permafrost fossils. However, sometimes larger glacial icebergs will have entirely frozen specimens inside them, bolstering a much higher chance of Smilodon DNA. Smilodons, when revived, will hunt humanoid creatures quite ferociously. However, they have a much softer side to them. When together, they'll begin to groom each other, leaving behind bits of Smilodon fur. For those brave enough to collect it, they'll discover that this is a vital key in the construction of birthing pods, which are vital to reviving ancient animals who don't have a living descendant today. Another key trait about Smilodons is that they are one of the few creatures that actually have a modern relative today, the humble ocelot. They are one of the few creatures that can actually birth a living Smilodon successfully, albeit with a skin tone similar to that of their mother. The Stethocyanthus is a small shark relative with a strange headpiece. Like many smaller aquatic animals, they can be bucketed. These animals can be killed for their somewhat filling meat, though they are best used in small aquariums with good foliage. Talpanas are a very strange bird from the Holocene. These ducks lived in caves on islands, living in the troglodyte lifestyle, spending their lives in the dark. These ducks prefer the dark, panicking in areas that are too bright. If one is able to catch a duck, they can hold it on their heads. While the duck may panic, it will not flee, as it is afraid of heights. Talpanas will also dig in rooted dirt in search of food, digging up bits of hanging roots to be used for decoration purposes. The Triceratops hails from the Cretaceous period. These large herbivores dominated their niche during their time. They reigned supreme as they could hold their own against most large predators, including the formidable Tyrannosaurus rex. These dinosaurs are docile unless provoked. When aggressive, they will steamroll any would-be attackers. They can be fed ginkgo fruits to tame them. When ridden, these massive creatures are fairly fast, allowing them to hurt large saves of mobs with ease. Though when ridden, they become rather focused on moving in one direction, making their use slightly limited. When these beasts grow up from childhood, they will shed their adolescent horns. These horns can be refitted into the Power Trike shield. This is one of the few shields strong enough to withstand an attack from a Tyrannosaurus rex. The Eulogbegosaurus is a dubious theropod from the late Cretaceous period. These medium-sized dinosaurs are rather tame, as they seem to be more used to chasing beach dwellers rather than bigger game. However, one of their most unique traits is their crest colors. These crest colors determine what style of life these dinosaurs live. Blue crest colors individuals are much faster, being more adapted to chasing down prey. White crest colored individuals are more bulky, much more adapted to fending off predators or rivals. Orange crest colored individuals have much more powerful bites, allowing them to crack bones for nutrients. Yellow crest colored individuals have a special venom that disables joints, particularly in the arms. This will prevent the player from doing any actions with their hands besides mining and attacking. Brown crest colored individuals are very durable, having thick scales that protect the animal. These creatures are also relatively easy to tame and ride, as their preferred foods are indicated by their crest colors. Velociraptors are iconic Cretaceous theropods and are quite the clever fiends. These small animals are able to open up doors with ease and will even press amber buttons, as they seem to smell almost familiar to them. Sometimes while engaging in these activities, they will shed a few feathers. These feathers are a vital part of crafting the Velocishield, a small shield that allows for a short burst of speed in a certain direction. However, its small size prevents it from actually blocking attacks. That will do it for the Unusual Prehistory mod. It's definitely one of, if not the best mods for reviving ancient creatures out there. It's available to download in the description. Thank you for watching, and take care.